Oh shit, Roblox isn't actually lagging as soon as I launch it. Okay. Hello, this is Goof Shoes, one of the reviewers in the Stylist Discord. Currently doing review for the map. Let me get it back up in Discord. Here it is. It's just called, actually a map this time. Well, I'm getting the vibe that it's a tank factory. I'm almost 100% sure on that. So you could probably just fucking call it a factory, honestly. That'd work. I walked around for a little bit. I was able to form my opinions pretty quickly. Unfortunately, there's some things missing from the map still, like spawn points and objective placement. Excuse me. So that means that I can't cover everything I'd like to. I can make some assumptions on where I think spawn points and objectives would or should be. But they're just my speculation or suggestion. So this is, I'm going to call it Factory by, I don't know if I want to use the guy's, Roblox. I'm trying to sort through my tabs and I feel like an idiot. His Roblox name or his Discord name. I'm going to go with his Roblox name, which is Dester Dask. W-E. It's going to be fucking impossible to pronounce names. So after 2 minutes of bullshit, let's get into the actual review. My immediate, literally as soon as I opened up the map, I noticed the rooftop access. And that was pretty, I was like, oh shit, here we go. I have to do this again. Rooftop access like this across your map isn't good. This is a bad thing. Especially even more so, with these skylights in them, overlooking the interiors of every building, and here's why. These rooftops are power positions over what is now the entire map. Literally everywhere. You can get between all the rooftops without having to jump down. Just like Ravad. This is the lesson when people play Zavad that I want them to learn. This is what you learn from Zavad, is this rooftop style is bad for maps. The issue being, and also I figure, just for reference, I figure spawns are going to be spread out this way. That makes the most sense to me since this whole back area is completely empty. And same goes for the other side of the map. I figured that's what we're looking for spawns, which has some other concerns, like this completely just, this defilade here, which isn't really actual cover. Meaning that the only safe spawns for this team are going to be over here. So this shit is bad for your map. Reason being that, like I said, it's a power position over everything. You can control the entire map from these roofs. There's no reason to come down besides to capture objectives, and as we know, people in Phantom Forces don't really give a fuck about capturing objectives, especially if you de-incentivize it by making these positions so powerful. So, they're cute. That sounds pretentious. They're cool. I like the idea. I really like having an additional level of play to a map. I know a lot of people don't like verticality, especially in Phantom Forces. I personally do. I like the additional challenge. It's more to manage, and I enjoy it. Mirage is obviously the extreme of this, and I think just about anything in extremes is a bad thing, and this includes Mirage. So, really all I have to say is that the rooftop access has to be reworked or has to go. And I'm pretty much going to have to say that about every map that does this. Yeah, I'm just going to have to say that, because it's really bad. Now this one does it better than the map that I looked at a while ago, which is Oil Refinery, because the ladder placement, based on my assumptions for spawn locations, is a lot more fair generally. This side has another building for access over here, which is a bit unbalanced, but these rooftops just can't be accessible if the map wants to be balanced anyway. Now, if we are going to not remove rooftop access, there is a very delicate compromise that can be found. And it's limiting the positions you can peek from on these rooftops. When you have these rooftops up here, and you can peek from anywhere on them at any point, it creates the ultimate fucking 50-50. It's a 1/1/1 just repeating 100 times. Because you have this entire surface on every edge to peek from, so an enemy who's on the ground has no way to predict where you're going to be coming from. Which means that you have an unprecedented advantage. It's just incredible. So that's an issue. Oh, he's running in place. So how you can fix that is just by limiting it, putting cover along the edges so that there's only one or two spots to peek from across the rooftops, and that includes blocking up these skylights, which, as much as I kind of like how they can change gameplay from getting shot down on them, much like Dome on Highway, or fucking offices or whatever in new Highway, this is still, it's just an insanely powerful position over everywhere in the map. So either seriously block off most of the places you can look down from with this shit, or remove it completely. I think it needs to be removed completely. These have such an overwhelming presence on the map that most players, and I've said this before in some videos, and Lily has too, is that players naturally want to go up. You can observe this with people attracted to the crane site, or to the parking lot, or to the top of construction on crane, or to the top of offices on crane, or with highway, mall, where players constantly just run to the rooftop of the map and pretty much ignore the entire rest of it, even though there's no objective points on the top of the map anywhere. Mirage players typically just run straight up to the tops of the buildings. It's partially because height gives you an advantage as far as how much shit you can see, which blocking the sight lines along these edges would help. And I'm serious, like 2 to 3 places to look down from per edge at most, because it seriously needs to be nerfed so these rooftops don't dominate the map, if they're really not going to cut that. Now, so that's been established. Cut the rooftop access, find some other way to add another level to the map if we're insisting on that. As far as movement in between areas is concerned, it's pretty solid. The map is a little bit open, which further makes this rooftop thing a huge issue, is people on the ground are just fucked. One building I particularly noticed was open is this sight line, and this is a big problem. Because if spawns are behind this building lengthwise along it, that means there's basically no horizontal sightline breaks for the spawns, which means awful spawn trapping issues. So that needs to be fixed. There needs to be clutter along these visual lines here, so that I just move this tank fucking forward, this tank body, just anything. Preferably things that people can't climb on top of, because that's an issue Suburbia had. It had a few horizontal breaks, but you can just climb on top of the cars, so they didn't matter. So that spawn trapping isn't going to be such a huge issue. Originally I was looking at this map as if it was going to play this way, and honestly that point still stands if it's playing across its wider edge with spawns, because this sightline is huge. And same with behind here, since there's like no cover. You need to put horizontal sightline breaks in spawns. So I'm just going to pretend this doesn't exist now, because it shouldn't be there. I also noticed all the dev graffiti. That was cute. This back area, this is something another thing I noticed with the map that basically was just kind of goes for the entire thing, is in these back areas there isn't anything. There's no cover or very little detail or even access to the rest of the map. For example, like that closed gate there. You kind of just run around. It's sort of the same problem that Metro has, where if you're running along the flanks, there's very little cover, and it just feels desolate. You don't want to be over there, because it's fucking boring. You'd rather just run people instead just run up the escalators and get shot in the head. This was just a little thing I noticed. What is happening here? I think this is supposed to be there. But yeah, that's just a little thing. These sightlines... Look, basically this map holds snipers' hands in one of the biggest ways besides Mirage, as far as maps go. And snipers really do not need this hand-holding. Snipers are pretty powerful weapons in pubs in Phantom Forces. These sightlines here, this is a little better, because you can predict, they're going to peek from one of these 3/4 windows if you're smart enough to peek from here and try not to get killed from, the sides. You could also shoot through this wall if you have a strong enough, high enough caliber gun. So that's something. But this is a huge sightline, too. Oh, excuse me. My music's up a little too loud. It's been hard to concentrate. So, now assuming the map plays horizontally along these edges that I specified in the beginning, this isn't as huge of a deal, but it does give a slight advantage to the team that would spawn over here, since they can reach this more easily, and they're the only side that has an access to it on their side. So there should be a staircase going up to this area up here, and all of these should be blocked, like boarded up or something, like have metal shutters over them, except for one in this one, because I like this. So pick one of these. I'd say this one and this one, because how that works is that if you're peeking through here, you're vulnerable through here too. Cover up these two. They consider that a sort of compromise for decreasing the power of these sniper sightlines. When you put so much emphasis on sniper sightlines, much like this water tower here, those windows here and the rooftops, you slow down your map massively. Your map becomes a death trap for anyone that isn't playing on the roofs or in one of those in one of those sniper positions, and it fucks up your map a lot. It's a very effective way to shoot your map in the foot. So there needs to be a concerted effort to move through the map and really devalue these positions. Cut the rooftop access, nerf that, remove this water tower access, these two water towers, because this shit is annoying. They're basically just shittier cranes. If you ever play Dunes and you notice there's always someone sitting on this fucking head glitching on this water tower, it's fucking annoying. It's not fun. continuing with the theme of these back areas are empty, open up like a door here or something, put a reason to go through that back section of the map, add some cover along the back areas, open up that gate over there, and then put some kind of, sightline cut in front of it, which is already necessary for the rest of that area, just to add more access from flanks for the map. This area is open as fuck. There's no cover here at all. Which means no one will ever go here. And if they do, they die. So stick another one of them train cars over here or something. Trolleys. So that it's not just a death trap. This building helps a little bit. But even still, it's just because of how long this sightline is, how open this whole section is, it's just another sniper position. This is one thing that I found kind of weird, is that this train car is an open spot in it, but this one doesn't. It's only open from this side, whereas this one you can move through. I figure this one should have that too. Preferably this door being open. This is one thing I did like, though. I liked you can climb up and then jump in through there. It's like a nice little touch. I really like that kind of stuff. I'm just not sure why why only one of them would have a safe passage through. This building is alright. I didn't have a problem with this one when going through it. I think this area might get a little campy, but honestly, since this would presumably be so close to a team's spawn, considering that I assume people are spawning up along here, giving a team the advantage to defend from here isn't that big of an issue. All that being said, if you're pushing through the factory, an enemy could just sit here and then camp you if you run through, and you have to just watch your back instead. So I would put a couple doors through there so you can go through and clear it through this back section. Because otherwise, the only way to get in is to run up along the side and be vulnerable from this huge open area. Same thing, like when I mentioned this defilade, this is just another sniper sightline. If you're sitting from here, you can watch through this whole area, head glitch off of this, so it needs some more typical cover, I suppose, although this is one of the not as bad of an example. This thing is fine, honestly, although if I remember, there's only a staircase on that side, which is not fine. There should be a staircase over here too. Yes, I know that there's a conveyor belt here. Adjust it a little bit so it works, because you want to make sure that things are fairly accessible to both teams. So, assuming the rooftops are fixed, most of the combat in the map will be happening in here, which means that the hill will probably be in here too. Now this room is both really high in part count, I would assume, because of little details like this being mirrored on every single conveyor belt, so you can seriously cut down on a lot of that. This, I assume, if it's not meshed properly, could be really heavy on parts too. Or something like this. They're really cool. I like details like that, but this map is already at 15,000 parts, and you need more cover. So you're going to need to go through and cut a lot of stuff to make room for that additional cover. I get it sucks making your map not pretty. I didn't notice this the first time. This is interesting. Oh, and there's a ladder there too. That's cool. This is an interesting... It's interesting. This might... Nah, I like that. It's a good, kind of risky place to peek from. People know you'll be up there. It's cool. Oh, it's a shame if the rooftop access goes that this pipe might be a bit of a problem, because you could space plus X up here. Since the Mega Jump and Super Jump patches, the ZZ Space and XZ Space jumps are patched in test place, I figure that's going to be pushed eventually, so I'm not going to be criticizing based on Mega Jump and Super Jump anymore. Oh, those are floating. That's not good. That doesn't look very good. But even still, you could space X. You could space X up here, and that's not very good because you don't want people getting up to these rooftops. Access to these pipes isn't as huge of a deal because they're so vulnerable. I'll have to think about these more. I'm not sure. There's probably a way to drop that pipeline down so it enters up to that same pipe you can get to from this one, and have that be a sort of compromise to the rooftop access. That'd probably be fine. Also, super modern crane in what I assume is to be a sort of old map, and that looks really weird. I just thought about that. That's super out of place, considering the map has this older look to it. Excuse me. More sniper sight lines. So board up most of these except for one. The drill. So the hill naturally will probably be in this building. When you're designing a hill, you want it to be easy to capture, hard to defend. The reason for this is, like I said, I've mentioned before, is to make your map active. It slows down your map considerably when you make a hill really easy to defend. Because what happens is that capturing the objective is a death trap. A hill in here would be fucking impossible to capture because there's so much places that defenders can take to look over the hill. It's a nightmare. Oh, this isn't good. I'll get to that in a second. So these pipes just really need a lot of... The pipes and the rooftops and the upper levels in this map need a ton of fixing. This basically makes the bottom floor of anywhere on the map a horrible death trap. You could probably do... Oh, that only has one staircase. Again, same with that. And they're both favoring the same side, sort of. You could try to expand this path over to here, this raised section, and maybe somehow through that stick a hill under it, and that'd be safer. But these pipes need some shit, just stuff up here to make these not so powerful. I don't actually even know how I would go about doing that, honestly. Because, I like the additional depth of gameplay that's added from stuff like this, but it's unbalanced. So I don't want to say we'll just cut it. Oh, yeah. So, that being said, here's the other issue with these areas, and this one, I would argue, might even be bigger. If spawns are over there, on these edges of the map, back there, this is fucking ridiculous. You can sit in this building, protect the objective that I presume would be in here, and also watch enemies spawn from just about anywhere. Sit here, and you can cover almost that entire flank. Same with over here, and just anywhere along this. This is insane. These grates just need to be removed completely, so you can't look out. Just some ways that you can't see out of these over enemy spawns. And same goes for, if the spawns are over on that side instead, because these grates do the same thing. Otherwise, within this building, flow is alright. You've got a dead end here, and that's fucking dumb. That's no good. You want to open up the crate to both sides. You don't want to stick dead ends in there like that. There's a bit lacking cover in certain aspects. This is all just prone cover. If you're standing up, it's useless. It just covers your torso, really. So it means this building is generally pretty open. And again, if there's going to be an objective in here, which there really should, it's going to be a problem. The objective will be insanely difficult to take from a team holding it. Like I said, this sightline is really, really open. Oh, this was like a really small thing that I noticed, and I just thought was weird. Something about how the terrain was done with this makes it look like it's like cel-shaded, like Borderlands, or a comic, you know, with the black outlines along the edges. It's called cel-shading. Like, it just, the terrain didn't stick together right or something, and there's these big crevices along it. It kind of ruins the effect I think it was going for, which in and of itself is a good idea, effect, and I like it. This one looks a little bit better because it's black, so you could probably even just make this black, and then you wouldn't notice it as much. So, now that I shit on this map really hard for the last 25 minutes, what good stuff do I have to say about it? That it looks nice, which has kind of been a theme with this program, is we have really talented builders that make really pretty shit, but don't know how to make a map's layout. This map looks pretty nice, but it's just super open. It has a ton of problems with sniper sightlines all over the map. And like I said, I had to make some assumptions as far as spawns go. Now, assuming spawns are along these edges, I can talk about where I think objective placement should be. Those places I think should be somewhere in that building, somewhere towards the middle of this building, and then in the center of this one. So let's do a quick summary of the map. Sightlines are extremely open just about everywhere, especially along the edges of the map, which are the worst places to have those. They decentralize flow, so the map kind of gets weird and stagnant just because nobody knows where to go. It makes the flanks less valuable because no one wants to use them, and it makes spawn trapping a huge problem because the horizontal sightlines aren't broken, and it means you can manage just about anywhere that an enemy is coming from. This goes for both sides. This rooftop access needs to go. The pipes can probably be reworked to remain somehow moving through the buildings, but their power within this building is fucking astronomical and seriously needs to be fixed. How I would do that, I'm not certain, but it needs to be done. That's a big, big problem. That really condenses most of it. The sniper positions, like dedicated sniper shit like these water towers, is annoying and shouldn't be there. Just pull the ladders from the towers. That barrier railing thing in that building over there was really strange. Lacks of staircases on both sides of like raised positions like this structure here, or on the raised platforms within this building, or this balcony in there. Those should be made symmetrical so that both teams can access them fairly and from both sides. The power to look down from just about anywhere, where you have so many positions along these grates that people can't predict where you're going to be looking from, that needs to be fixed, especially these. Completely need to be boarded up, because they have so much power over spawn positions, and the ones along this edge too. These can probably stay, but I would only keep like one open, which I said was these two. These two should stay open, and these two should be covered. This sight line along this section here is much too open. Same with this area. This train car is like a camping spot for some reason, which doesn't really make sense. And the back entrance to this warehouse here leads to some really easy spawn trapping against this team. There's no access into these warehouses, these factories from the back, which I thought was strange, and that should probably be redone too, assuming spawns will be along this side. That's about it. So I guess the lesson to learn here is to block your maps, because this is all stuff that could have been found in the blocking phase of this map and remedied before full building started. I'm wasting a bunch of effort. Now having to spend a bunch of time reworking stuff. Really make sure to fill out these edges of the map, and also put invisible walls so that you can't get up on these edges. I think that rounds up my thoughts on this one. This is actually a map this time, or factory, by Dust Through Dusk. I'm Goof Shoes. Thanks for checking this out. Peace.